Hello everyone, after a long hiatus, we're back with another episode of Reading the Bible the way it wants to be read. We're going back to Genesis chapter 1, verses 20 through 23. Then God said, "Let the waters teem with swarms of living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth in the open expanse of the heavens." God created the great sea monsters and every living creature that moves, with which the waters swarmed after their kind, and every winged bird after its kind. And God saw that it was good. God blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let birds multiply on the earth." There was evening and there was morning, a fifth day. We've got a couple of key words that we're going to hit in this episode, and hopefully it's going to be a pretty short one. Let's talk about swarms. So, in God's vision of creation, the earth is full of stuff. Do you remember the core problem of pre-creation was wild and waste? And so swarming or filling is a sort of a synonymous usage here. Takes care of the waste part. And so now God has subdued the wilderness of creation by putting boundaries such as waters and skies and land on it. But now he is also filling it and taking care of waste. So even the waters, those chaotic, scary places, even they get filled with life. And the skies are filled with life. Now, what are these great sea monsters? At this point, I really want to recommend to you the Bible Project video called Chaos Dragon, in which it talks about how this sea monster theme intertwines itself with the story of the Satan, the devil, you could say. So the idea here is that God creates in this first creation plenty of room for chaos. You know, that there's still seas, which are a chaotic image. And in the seas, there is a chaos monster that can live in the chaos waters. Now, juxtapose that with the new creation revelation, in which there is no sea and, by extension, no chaos dragon. The great sea monsters are repeated throughout scriptures, and they have similar beings to them, such as snakes, the Leviathan, and dragons. And so what we see here is the very first mention of a creature of chaos. Now, how telling it is that a snake-like creature is entering into the garden whenever Adam and Eve are fallen into chaos. This theme begins here and is explored later, but one important thing to consider is that God is not intimidated by chaos, and he allows room for it in creation. And now we have swarmed after their kind. Beg pardon on that little scratch there. After their kind. So after their kind is an important phrase in Scripture in general, and it begins a theme of reproduction, and that things look like their parents, or rather things can reproduce according to their kind. And we see this theme doubled down in with fruit and trees, how trees produce fruit after their kind, with seed in it after their kind. So what is the big deal tree of the entire Genesis story? The tree of knowing good and evil, and the tree of life. So if I were to eat the fruit of the tree of knowing good and evil, would I not have the fruit and the seed of good and evil within me to reproduce in me more good and evil? Rather, knowledge of good and evil? Whereas if I eat the tree of life, will I not have fruit in me just like life, according to life's kind, to reproduce new life through me? And notice that the tree of knowing good and bad is also absent from Revelation in the new creation, as well as by extension its fruit. But we get this theme with animals, that animals are creating animals just like them. God blessed them, and this is a huge, very important theme, and one of the first times we get the indication of blessing, saying, "Be fruitful and multiply." In other words, I want you to contribute to this process of swarming creation with life. Be fruitful and multiply and fill the waters in the seas. Even the chaos places get full of life. And let birds multiply on the earth. There's evening and there is morning, a fifth day. Again, why are we spending so much time in Genesis? Because the original readers of Scripture, Genesis formed much of their worldview, how they understood and thought that the world worked. And if we want to read the Bible the way it wants to be read, we've got to go back here, humble ourselves, and learn these metaphysical ideas from where they begin. And that is how to read just a small part of Genesis and about the chaos dragon and swarming and waters and after their kind, the way that it wants to be read.